Welcome to Issues and Answers with your host, Dianne Christensen. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Dianne Christensen.
Welcome to the program. I'm Dianne Christensen. Do you like to play Russian roulette with your food? You perhaps are doing it and not even knowing it, like me. When I go get my chili roasted in the fall, I bring it home. I don't bring it home right away. I go do other shopping. I have it in my trunk. I think, oh, it's still steeping. It'll be easier to peel. Well, my guests today are telling me that I'm playing with my life when I do that. And there's more things. Do you have a loaf of bread and just the end is a little green and moldy? Do you throw it all away or do you just cut that piece off? Well, we're going to find out what my guests have to tell you. We're going to talk today about food safety and also the safety in preservation, preserving food like green chili, canning. We're going to give you some tips and also tell you about a class you can take through the Bernalillo County Cooperative Extension Program. Possibly just $10 for some things that they need to buy for the class, but pretty inexpensive to save your life. So stay with us as we learn about canning and can your food kill you if you're not safe like me. Well, I made it to this age, but I'm going to be changing my ways now after this program. Please stay with us as we learn about food safety and canning and preserving our foods. We'll be back right after this.
The National Education Association of New Mexico, a union of teachers and school staff, believes every child deserves to learn at a school that inspires their imagination, cultivates their curiosity, and ensures a fulfilling life. Public schools should provide all our students with small class sizes and one-on-one attention. NEA New Mexico asks you to join us so together we can end the teacher and staff shortage and invest in our public education system once and for all. Sponsored by NEA New Mexico.
Welcome back to the program. If this doesn't keep you watching our show, I don't know what will. We've got plums here and delicious looking peaches. We're going to talk about food preservation and again food safety with the Bernalillo County Cooperative Extension Program. And I have with me today Cindy Davis. She's retired, but she was the Bernalillo County Extension Director. Thank you so much for being part of the program, Cindy. Sure. And she's a family and consumer science agent who specializes in food preservation. Appreciate that.
Sure.
She's got some horror stories for us. Dianne Christensen also is a family and consumer science agent with the Bernalillo County Cooperative Extension Program. Thank you, Dianne, for being a part of the program, for all that you do here. We're laughing, you're laughing a lot, but we're going to talk about preservation. But since I started scaring people, let's talk about our favorite, green chili,
right. And
really how we are maybe taking our lives in our own hands if we don't follow some simple steps that I didn't know about. But I'm still here to tell about it. So Cindy, we're going to talk about the program that you're offering through Extension.
Okay.
We'll tell you a little bit about that, about canning, freezing, but about food safety. Yeah. With chili, one of our favorites here in New Mexico, what are the safety issues that we should be concerned about?
Okay, well, chili, believe it or not, is considered a low acid food, even though many people would think it's a higher acid. It's a vegetable, and all of our vegetables fall in the low acid category, which means when it comes to food preservation that you need a higher temperature to can at.
Wait, before we get into the canning, tell me how I can bring it home from the market.
Oh, okay.
Without killing myself.
You want to, okay.
That's safety first.
If you want to get your chili roasted with the big propane roasters, they put it in a big trash bag.
Yeah.
And first of all, you want to make sure that that trash bag is clear, not a black bag, because a lot of the black bags have been sprayed for pesticide. So you don't want your food touching that. Most roasters in our state know this, and you don't have a problem with it, but you might want to bring your own clear bag with you just in case, and ask them to put it in that for you. So they heat it up real hot to get the skins roasted so they'll peel off. And that's the basic process of it. It takes a little while for the steaming process to work. But in food safety, you only have a couple hour window for food to stay at certain temperatures before it's deemed unsafe. It needs to be higher than 40 degrees, or your refrigerator temperature, or lower than, am I saying that right, Diane?
It needs to be higher than 40 to 140. Is
Yeah,
kind of
the window is 40 to 140. So let's say I've got this steaming in my car and it's 110 to 120 degrees. Well, it's kind of out of that safety zone. So after a couple hours, I mean, you've got time to go home and deal with it, but you don't want to be driving around town or leave it in their trunk overnight or and deal with it, because you are in an unsafe territory. And you potentially have an opportunity to make yourself and your family sick every time you eat a frozen bag of chili.
And I was asking you back to the steaming. I guess I thought the steamier the better to slip it off, but just get it at home.
Yeah.
Peel it that same, or refrigerate it, or better to peel it right away.
What you can do is, if you don't have time immediately to deal with it, you can just get a bag of ice and dump it on there, or some people put it straight in their bathtub and run cold water on it until they can have time to take care of it. So you can cool it down. That's the issue. And then deal with it as quickly as you can. But we realize that, you know.
Do the skins come off as easily if it's cooled down?
Yeah, they come off once it's steamed.
Okay.
So,
2
2
and
hours
then freezing,
or 20
I was
hours.
asking how long can we keep it in my freezer?
In your freezer? Yeah.
Because that's for some of us, it's a lot of chili.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't use all their chili in 1 year. So you can use it. It's safe to use after the 1 year mark. But chili gets much hotter the longer it's kept frozen. So if you've got a bag of chili that's in the back of the freezer for the last 5 years, you pull that out and it may be too hot for you to eat, because that capsaicin in the chili continues to be active and get hotter.
Diane said that you brought her back to teach your classes, right? Because you're retired. Cindy's retired.
I retired last year.
So, but she's the expert.
She is the expert. I thought I need to get her back, and we're so thankful that she's back, and she really specializes in food preservation, and so it's just a wonderful opportunity to learn how to do all types of food preservation. We're going to have classes on canning, drying, and freezing. Those are the 3 ways that you can preserve food.
And they're throughout the summer, I think in June through July even. And so they can still register. We have the phone number, way to register. I believe it's only $10, and that's just for some costs. And this is not a Zoom class, Diane, this is in person.
No, this is in person. With this is really a hands-on kind of class that you really need to be present for. And so, and just the ability to learn from Cindy. There's so much misinformation on the internet. I mean, we've read about how you can can in your dishwasher, or and now with the instant, the Instapots, the electric pressure cookers, you need to be careful because we're in high altitude, and so you shouldn't really use those to do your canning. So
you suggest not really looking at the internet unless you're looking at your extension page website.
Yes, using reputable sources like the Ball Blue Book is an example of that. The recipes need to have been tested so that we know they're safe, and so that's what's important. And so New Mexico State spends a lot of time making sure the recipes are safe, as do extensions throughout the country.
Right.
So if you want safe canning recipes, you can just type into your browser extension, comma, and you might say high altitude food preservation. You want to make sure you do high altitude though, because that's key for us here. And then you'll get extension publications from Colorado State, Montana State, New Mexico State. You'll get all the information from around the country.
Fantastic.
And it's free. It's free to download and print off. So,
Cindy, how popular is canning and freeze drying and preserving these days compared to the past?
Yeah, it kind of comes and goes. And during the pandemic, we saw a rush on supplies, and people ran out of canning jars, and canning lids were impossible to find, and there was some panicked canners. So there are a lot of people that are concerned about what's next in our crazy world, and so they want to have a food supply that they know is safe that they have for their families. So it used to be that we farmed our land, we canned what we grew, we, kind of went down that agriculture line. Now a lot of people just want to can it so they have their own preserved food and they know what's in it and they know that it's safe. So
that's a big change.
It's kind of shifted, yeah.
These city folks. These
Yeah.
city folks are doing it.
Right.
We're going to talk the difference between the canning, the water bath, and the pressure canning, and freezing and drying. But before I do, I know the classes that you set up June, July, and August kind of go through the season.
Correct.
Starting with the later vegetables would be in the later part of the season. So
Right.
People to learn. But is it like an introductory class to canning?
I do a water bath basics, how to water bath can. So I do a basic class on that, and I'm doing that in the June, I think the 20th of June or something.
What is water bath? I've heard of the pressure
Okay.
cooking. You've got to, okay.
Yeah,
show
this
us.
is a water bath canner, and a lot of you have seen this canner. Maybe your grandma had one in her attic, and I think my lid just got stuck in it. But inside the water bath canner, you'll find a rack, and that's where you put your jars. And this is nothing more than a big cheap aluminum pot. So you can even use a big stock pot if you have one, but you need to have a rack on the bottom to put your jars in it. And with water bath canning, you get up to 212, or in our altitude, the boiling point is closer to 204, 205. But anyway, it reaches the boiling temperature. And that cans things safely that are the higher acid foods, which is all of our fruits, tomatoes, and jams and jellies, that kind of thing.
So this could be water bath right here?
Yes,
Here,
yes.
That's heavy, really heavy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the fruit, do you just, real basics, just cut up the peaches and put
Yeah,
them in the jar?
yeah.
Or you put...
You're peeling your peaches, and there's ways to cut the time down on peeling peaches if you were ever stuck doing that as a kid, and taking the pits out, and then you make a light syrup to pour over it to preserve it. But it's basically a water syrup with a little bit of sweetener in it to preserve your...
You put that in, put it in your pot.
Right.
Put it on the stove.
You put it in your pot, you cover this with water, so that's why this pot is so big.
Yeah,
it needs
okay.
to be covered with water.
The whole thing.
And then you can it's preferable really to can a whole canner full of stuff. So let's say we've got 7 quarts of peaches in here, filled up with water, bring it to boil. Once it starts boiling, you let it boil for a certain amount of time as per the instructions, and there you have it, yeah.
And
So-
then you can put it on your shelf,
Yes.
not in the fridge.
Right, you can keep that for, the recommendation is that you eat food within the year that you can it, but you can actually safely eat canned food for a long time, as long as the seal is still in place and the color hasn't turned funny or any funny business going on that you would be concerned about it. So if you ever pick up a jar of canned food that you're nervous about, if in doubt, throw it out, because you really can get sick from eating improperly canned food.
And then this is high pressure canning.
This is
which
pressure
I've
canning.
never heard of water-based canning.
Okay, yeah, pressure canning, and the dial gauge is the most common. You also have a weighted gauge option, but in our high altitude, we need to can things at a higher temperature and a higher pressure point. So this brings, inside a canner, I didn't bring the bottom of this, but inside this you attach it safely and securely because the temperature is going to reach 240 degrees.
And the
in
water
here.
bath was how much?
Just
204.
boiling, yeah, so boiling temperature, 212.
212 and this is 240, but still water.
Yes, it's water, but it doesn't cover the whole jars. It's actually being steam bathed. So that's what's, yeah.
Steam is hotter than water?
Yeah, the steam will boil and lock in that hot temperature inside a canner. And that's why a lot of people have experience with their canner blowing up or whatever because it reaches past 240 and you really can potentially it can be a dangerous weapon, actually. Canners have been used as bombs. So you certainly don't want to go down that route. But this is the way you can can all your vegetables and meat safely. Yeah.
Meat.
Yeah.
Okay, and vegetables, just chili and low acid.
Yeah, any of your green beans, your corn, you name it. If you grow it, you can probably can it. Yeah.
Or get it at the farmer's market in the
Right.
season. And
Absolutely.
here, use the green chili. What do you put on that? What kind of, you just cut up the chili, put it in?
Okay, yeah, this has got just hot water over it to cover your product, cover your green chili. You don't have to put anything on there. This is chopped, so I can unscrew the lid, take it off, and dump it into my soup or stew or whatever I'm planning on using.
Oh, that was high pressure.
Yeah, so
Still
this is a safe, and it'll last a few years on the shelf, so, yeah.
What is, and again, a water bath? It's kind of a funny name, water bath, but.
Yeah. Water bath canning, yeah.
What about freezing and drying fruit and vegetables?
Now that, of course, is actually very safe, and you don't have to be quite as cautious about food safety with that. All of us have done freezing at our homes, and a lot of us probably don't use the proper containers for freezers, and you may stick something in a cottage cheese container, stick it in the freezer, and 3 months later
Have you seen my fridge? Yes.
What is this brown stuff in here? You don't know if it's barbecue or spaghetti sauce or, whatever. So it's really good to use proper containers and label them.
Well, just like a freezer bag, is that fine? Freezer bag?
A freezer bag is exactly what you should use, yeah. And label it so you'll know that in July of 22, this was green beans or whatever, yeah.
What kind of container are you talking about? I see the
freezer bags, and they're also freezer containers.
Okay.
Yeah. You can also freeze in the canning jars. Canning jars can be heated or frozen to extreme temperatures. So I don't like to can and freeze in glass because when you open my freezer, you never quite know what might fall out. Then you'll have a broken jar.
Broken jar. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So fruits and vegetables, freezing them. Still
Easy.
cut up a peach and put it in a freezer bag and stick it in the freezer, that's it, or do you put anything in?
Yeah, you want to put some ascorbic acid or lemon juice on it to keep it from turning brown, just like an apple. When you cut an apple, it'll turn brown quite quickly. Same with a lot of the fruits and vegetables. You want to have ascorbic acid in there so it won't
Just
turn
lemon
brown.
juice.
Lemon juice.
How long can that stay in my freezer if I freeze it in a correct freezer container?
A good year, yeah, a good year. So it works quite nicely. Most
So
of
why
us
don't we
run
just-
out of freezer room though, so that's the deal is, and most people in New Mexico who put up a bushel or so of green chili every year, that takes a lot of room. And then you don't have room in your freezer for what else you want to put in your freezer, so.
So the difference, the taste between I'll give Diane another, here, you can hand those over to Cindy. The plums and the peaches, the fruits, these are water bath preserved, canned. But if I put it in a freezer bag, is the texture, the flavor different than canning compared to freezing it?
Freezing tastes more like fresh, so because you don't have to cook it. This is being processed for probably 40 minutes in this size jar. So we're actually cooking these peaches. With the freezing, you don't cook it at all. So you're taking a fresh product and freezing it, and it will taste closer to fresh when it comes out. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's preferred. And then when you dry, you literally are cutting your fruit or vegetables up to put on dryer sheets and dehydrators, and you can dry that quite nicely, and another way to preserve. So
I've seen dried fruit like apricots.
Yes,
and
yeah.
Green chili actually dries.
Yeah.
Maybe you could mention that.
My favorite way to preserve chili is to dry it, and you peel it and you open it up to put on the flats of your dryer, your shelves of your dryer, and you let it dry for about 6 hours, and then you have a piece of chili that almost looks like a piece of jerky. And you can eat it like jerky, or you can reconstitute it in water if you want to use it again.
So drying just not sitting it out on your counter? Is that drying?
Well, you can you can dry your herbs out on your counter if you've got basil or parsley or something, because we have such dry air, it'll dry pretty quickly. But most things you need to have it in an area that the bugs aren't getting to it, so a dehydrator is a good place for that. You can put things out to dry, and in New Mexico, our heritage is people dried corn and chili and squash and everything out in the sun, and that's how they survived. And even meat, they made, dried their meat, made jerky out of it, so. Yeah.
But then the sun, don't you get the bacteria of the meats, I'm thinking?
Yeah, well, USDA has deemed that meat needs to be heated to a temperature of 160 degrees to be safe. So I recommend that you not just dry your jerky on your clothesline or all these places that hunters like to dry their jerky. You really need to make it a safe, hot environment for it to kill that bacteria.
So a dehydrator is another piece of equipment?
Yeah.
Dehydrator?
Yeah.
You just sit in there, do you turn it on, or?
Yeah, well, it comes in different, you can turn it to different temperatures. So some food, you dry it in a little cooler, the meat, you dry it at hotter, and for different lengths of time. You can also make fruit leather, the leather that kids eat just out of pureeing your fruit. So that's a good way to use up fruit if you've got an abundance of it during the
Puree
summer.
it and then dry it?
Mm-hmm. You pour it on a little shelf.
Why are you smiling, Diane?
Oh, it's just a great snack for the kids.
Yeah.
And you just, instead of having a grid, it's smooth, and you just pour it, and then you set the dehydrator, and then you just roll it up.
What types of people take these classes?
We have all
everybody.
different kinds.
Yeah.
From the novice who knows nothing to people who are pretty experienced enjoy these classes. So
I have a couple grandmas and their granddaughters or their grandkids who have called me about classes this summer, or a mom and child. I kind of cut the line at about 10 years old. So if you've got a preteen or a teen, that's perfect. You don't want little kids with these hot water bath, boiling water canners. So, but yeah, we love to have anybody that's the least bit interested or just curious.
Now, is it $10 for all? I think it's $20 for the lab fee. Is that for each class, or?
That's for all the canning classes, because canning jars and lids are expensive, and then unless we have food donated, we have to purchase all the produce. So that's all that it's covering is.
It tends to be Wednesdays.
Yes.
A lot of Wednesdays from 9 in the morning till noon.
Yes.
And it's at your Manal location.
Correct. Right. Yeah, we have a nice big kitchen. We have about 15 people, up to 15 people in a class, and so everybody has an opportunity to get your hands in there and be cutting up fruits and vegetables and preserving it. So, and then you get to take home what you've done. So that's kind of fun too. You can take home your jar of peaches and your salsa or whatever.
I had these, had them just sitting there.
This is a jar lifter. So you're dealing with boiling water, so you definitely don't want to put your hand in the boiling water pot. So that is essential, and this is just a funnel, so to keep the food from splashing out all over the place. So there's a few tools of the trade, but it's not a complicated thing. It really, you just need to know how to do it safely. And
tell me a little bit about apple butter.
Apple butter.
What is
a lot of times we have an abundance of apples in August and September, and if you've got more than you know what to do with, apple butter is a good way to put it in a roaster, make a ton of applesauce, and add your brown sugar and spices, and you have a lovely apple butter that you can and give as gifts or eat throughout the year. So.
That has no butter in it.
It has no butter, yeah.
just the apple spread, more or less.
Yeah. It's all the fruit butters are actually very common, and you don't have to use very much sugar in those, which is one reason a lot of people like to make butters. Yeah.
You're doing canning jams, jellies, pickles, relish.
Mm-hmm.
which are really cucumbers, right?
Well, yeah, we also can green beans and okra and beets and all sorts of different vegetables. Yeah.
What's Cindy Davies? Tell the viewers what's the biggest mistake that we make as consumers and cooks.
The biggest mistake that we make is that we don't go with what we have in our area and seasonally. So when there's an abundance of fruit, that's the time to make apple butter or can your peaches or whatever. And so you need to kind of think in seasons if you're talking about food. And right now, with kind of some crazy things happening in our world, to have a few things on your shelf that are shelf stable that you can pull off and serve your family safely throughout the year is actually a tremendous blessing to people, and helpful. So that's what I think is most beneficial about preserving your food.
Thank you very much, Cindy Davis, for being a part of this program and for all that you've done for so many years for the state of New Mexico.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. And Dianne Christensen, what would you like to share with the viewers about signing up for this class? And again, it's a whole different mindset. Again, when we find the shelves are empty of our favorite items, we can have our own kitchen and go through your classes at New Mexico Cooperative Extension and learn how to do these things so we have them on our shelves.
Yeah, so if you'd like to sign up, just call 505-243-1386, or you can email Bernalillo at nmsu.edu. If you'd give your name, your email, your phone number, and also which classes you'd like to sign up for. And then you can just pay the lab fee of $20 when you come. We don't take credit cards, so we need cash or check if you come for classes. So we'd love to have you. They're very fun, and again, it's a great way to meet new people.
Yeah.
Community. Yeah. Very nice. Thank you so much. There's so much through the Cooperative Extension Program. Again, look at that. Give them a call or look at that, or email them or their website to find out. In addition to the canning, so many other things, and we're so grateful for them to come and be on our program so we don't have to play Russian roulette with our food any longer and to be safer. Thank you for watching the show. I'm Dianne Kinderwater. Make it a great week with your family. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thousands of young people are dying from counterfeit prescription drugs laced with lethal doses of fentanyl. Many of them thought they were taking a legitimate prescription drug. Can you tell the difference? Just one counterfeit pill laced with fentanyl can kill. And it did. Talk to your kids about the danger of fentanyl. Visit onepillkilled.org to learn more.
Issues and Answers with your host Dianne Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program or to purchase a copy of any Issues and Answers program, visit sunbroadcasting.org or call us at 505-345-1991.